a very Merry Christmas and hopefully a peaceful New Year.
Richard Tice.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I welcome the Minister's statement and reiterate Reform's strong support with all parties in this House for Ukraine, its sovereignty, its independence against the dictator Putin. The Minister knows I have spoken frequently about using the frozen central assets, and I'm encouraged by his words today. But can I urge him to go further, because Ukrainian friends of mine have reinforced the strength of the negotiating leverage of these assets, and therefore this government has the opportunity to show real leadership in this coalition of the willing and commit unilaterally to using those frozen central assets.
I think in the spirit of Christmas, can I thank him and for his support for this effort. I think it is so important that we can, as much as possible, present a cross-party unified voice, which is so important. And I think the steps that he has taken, especially to address the pollution in his own party of Russian bribes, I think is an important step forward. So hopefully there can never, ever be again Russian bribes taken by people in his party or anyone else's party. He's absolutely right to raise the issues of frozen Russian assets. It is important that the UK moves with our international allies in this respect. That has been our approach from the start, and I hope we're nearly at the point where progress can be made. But he's right to say just how important it is to use those assets as leverage in peace, but also to use the value of those assets and the interest from them to support Ukraine in the fight against Putin's illegal invasion.
Ben Objective.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And can I start by associating myself with the remarks from the member, for Portsmouth North regarding the loss of Lance Corporal Hooley this Christmas.
Watch this carefully, because what you're about to hear isn't just political theatre. It's a snapshot of how broken and combative British politics has become. What unfolded in the chamber here wasn't simply a heated exchange between government and opposition. It was a raw display of frustration, accusation, deflection, and competing narratives over who is actually in control of the country. On one side, a government defending its record and insisting it is delivering stability. On the other, an opposition determined to paint a picture of chaos, failure, and leadership collapse. And somewhere in the middle of all this noise is the British public, trying to work out who is telling the truth. The exchange opens with what appears to be a respectful moment, condolences offered to the family of a fallen soldier. But very quickly, the tone shifts. The question isn't really about sympathy or unity. It's a political strike. The Prime Minister is challenged directly on why members of his own party are reportedly referring to him as a caretaker leader. That phrase alone carries weight. It suggests not leadership, but temporary control. Not authority, but inevitability, as if everyone already knows his time is running out. The Prime Minister's response is what you'd expect. A. Defense rooted in policy achievements. He talks about budgets, stability, protecting public services, supporting the NHS, and cutting energy bills. On paper, it sounds solid. But politics isn't only about policy, it's about perception. And perception is exactly what the opposition is targeting here. The accusation is blunt. This government isn't leading, it's surviving. MPs are said to be jockeying for position, preparing for succession, rather than governing. The opposition paints a picture of a party distracted by internal power struggles while the country faces rising bills, public service pressure, and institutional strain. The phrase caretaker Prime Minister isn't just an insult, it's a narrative designed to stick. From there, the exchange descends into something closer to political trench warfare. Energy bills become the battleground. The government insists it has cut costs for millions of households. The opposition fires back with figures suggesting the opposite, that bills are higher now than before, and that promised reductions never materialized. Each side accuses the other of misleading the public. Facts are thrown like weapons, not calmly debated but hurled across the chamber in frustration. And this is where the tone becomes telling. Instead of clarity, we get chaos. Instead of answers, we get counterattacks. Every question is met with a deflection. Every criticism with a reminder of past failures. The debate becomes less about solving problems and more about assigning blame. Education follows the same pattern. The government claims progress, rising numbers, improvement. The opposition claims decline, broken promises, fewer teachers, and unreliable data. Again, both sides accuse each other of misrepresentation. The public is left to wonder, if even basic numbers are disputed, who can be trusted. Then comes policing. The claim that police numbers are rising is immediately countered with accusations that officer numbers have actually fallen. Once again, the argument isn't just about statistics, it's about confidence. Do people feel safer? Do they believe crime is being taken seriously? The debate never quite answers those questions. It circles them, weaponizes them, but doesn't resolve them. What becomes clear as the exchange goes on is that this isn't really about energy bills, teachers, or police numbers in isolation. It's about leadership, credibility. The opposition's strategy is obvious. Portray the Prime Minister as weak, distracted, and losing authority over his own party. Every reference to internal dissent, every mention of leadership speculation, every jab about ministers angling for promotion reinforces that message. At the same time, the government's defense relies heavily on comparison. How bad things were before, how much worse the opposition allegedly made them, and how current problems are inherited rather than created. That strategy can work, but only for so long. Eventually, voters stop asking who caused the mess and start asking who is fixing it. Perhaps the most striking moment is not any single statistic or insult, but the overall tone. The debate feels exhausted, angry, circular. There's little sense of cooperation, even on issues that affect everyone. Healthcare, policing, education, cost of living. Instead, there's constant scoring of points, constant referencing of past failures, and very little sense of shared responsibility. And that's what makes this exchange so revealing. It exposes a deeper problem in British politics right now. A growing gap between political performance and public expectation. People want solutions. They want competence. They want stability. What they often see instead is theatre. The Prime Minister insists his government is delivering. The opposition insists everything is getting worse. Both cannot be entirely right, but both are speaking to different frustrations felt across the country. Some voters do feel things are improving. Others feel left behind, unheard, and increasingly skeptical of promises from any side. In the end, what this exchange really shows is not just a clash of parties, but a crisis of confidence. Confidence in leadership. Confidence in institutions. Confidence that anyone in the chamber is truly focused on long-term solutions, rather than short-term survival. And that leaves one unavoidable question hanging in the air, not just for the politicians involved, but for the public watching at home. Do you believe this government is genuinely in control and moving the country forward? Or does this debate prove that British politics has become more about power struggles than real leadership?